Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for January 9th. We are here. We're going to be breaking down. We got a nice 7-game slate today on both sites. We're going to be breaking down all of the games. I am your host, Tyler Wiemann, at FlatTyler83 on your DFS sites and Twitter. Now come join us at LineStar. There's a couple different ways to do it for cheap. If you are new here and you have never tried us out, go to the App Store, Android or iOS App Store. Download us there, LineStar app, and you can get a free 7-day trial. That is the easiest and the cheapest way to try us out. So come join us, and you get access to everything you see here, as well as the app. This is the website. The app is great, and nobody has a better app for your DFS and prop betting. So let's dig into it. All right, 7 games. Highest owned point guard, Terry Rozier, 33% owned. Scary Terry is 5K. He is re-entered into the starting lineup, and he's been, 5 or 6X pretty much every start since he's been back. I'm fine to go here. We know there's upside with Scary Terry. There just hasn't been with the Miami Heat. The upside was with the Hornets. Since he's left there, we really haven't seen much upside here, so that is a little bit cause for concern, but I don't mind going here. 32 minutes last game, 41 the game before that, and only 18 that first start, but they got absolutely torched and blown out, so that's probably part of the reason. Most likely, he's in that 31, 32-minute range. I don't mind him. He's filler, though. I would not be going super hard on him. Darius Garland, 7,400, 27% owned. Now, I would go super hard on Darius Garland. The situation is there is no Donovan Mitchell. Without Donovan Mitchell, he goes from 1.14 fantasy points per minute up to like 1.3. He's also in a decent spot versus the Raptors. I'm going to have me some Darius Garland for sure. Fred VanVleet, 7,400, 24% owned versus the Grizzlies. It is not the easiest spot in the world. Last game was the easiest spot in the world. Now he's going to face reality against a actual NBA team, and I do not expect the outcome to be like it was last time. I think people are point chasing here a little bit. I'm probably not going to have very much Fred VanVleet, if any at all. Now we get into some pivots here. Well, not necessarily pivots. Buddy Hield's coming in at 20%, but with their injuries, there's a path to more ownership here. They got a lot of guys questionable, but we do have Wiggins and Kuminga out, so there is going to be extra usage available on this team for sure for people to pick up. We also have other questionable spots here. Podziemski is still out. It's going to be interesting. We really need to watch for this injury report to get a better idea of who's playing, who's not, where minutes are going. But there is a chance that the Golden State Warriors rotation doesn't absolutely suck tonight. They have been one of those teams. There's been a few of them. When healthy, they just play everybody. And hopefully tonight we take that out of the equation a little bit, and then that means some of these guys have some real value, and Buddy Hield is one that could have value. Tyler Hero, 8,100 versus the Utah Jazz. It's obviously a good spot versus the Jazz. He has a big-time ceiling. The price is right, and I don't mind going there. Colin Sexton, 6,500. It's the same thing as the other day. We got a bunch of people out for the Jazz. No Clarkson, no George, no Collins. With that, we can expect minutes for Sexton, and, he's still only playing 31-ish, but there's big-time ceiling when he's playing. We know he can get it going. He can easily get into the 40s at 6,500. I'm fine taking that chance. Cade Cunningham, 10.3K versus the Warriors. Not the easiest spot in the world, but Cade has, big-time ceiling, and we're on a slate that doesn't have really that many pay-up options. So I don't mind having some Cade. Anthony Simons, 7,300. We've been here a lot lately, and we're going back. Dallas does not scare me, especially beat up Dallas. And it's a game that, one, they can stay into it. Simon's shot's been falling. It's a good scoring matchup for him. I'm fine going with some Simons, going back to that drawing board. And then Ty Jerome, 4,400. Look, Ty Jerome's been playing very, very well off the bench, and I would expect he still comes off the bench here today. But I think there's a little bit more path to, like 22, 24 minutes, something like that. I am at 22 right now and still getting some. So Ty Jerome's popping up a little bit for me. Let's get into DraftKings. Point guard, Devin Booker, 27% owned. He is 9K versus Atlanta. It's obviously a great spot versus Atlanta. Now, he went nuts for 63. We were all over him that game. I don't expect that kind of outcome. The big thing here with Booker and Durant is the rates of which they play at, fantasy point per minute wise with and without Beal on the court. Booker is like 1.13 with Beal on the court, but then 1.24 without. Now, he's still going to have Beal on the court with him for a decent amount of time, but it's a lot less. So, Booker is going to look good until this price comes up a little bit. Now, 9K is getting up there where it's not like an automatic play for me. Don't mind some. I do think he's going probably a little over-owned at 27%. But I'm going to get some Booker. Garland is just a smash. Going to play a ton of him. Karis LeVert, 4,100 is too cheap. Without Mitchell, he should get 26 to 28 minutes. And he's good enough from a fantasy point per minute range to make a ton of sense at that price. Terry Rozier, we talked about. We're going to shooting guard on FanDuel. Jaime Jaquez, 36% owned. He's 5K. We were all over him the other night. He didn't do that great, but at least minutes seem to be solidifying a little bit more for him. Think we can only expect really 28 to 32-ish, but it's versus the Utah Jazz. Everybody gets a turn versus the Jazz, and it is Jaquez's turn tonight. I'm fine going there. The upside is there. In his starts, 44, 13, 41, 25, 60, 23. I don't mind the downsides there, but I love the upsides. You have, like a 50% chance of 40 plus. I am absolutely here at 5K. Booker, we covered. Amen Thompson, 7,900. I mean, hard not to keep going to this one. He just keeps getting over 40 every single start. So, fine going back. The price is up there, so I'm not going to have, a super ton of him, but 33% is a little high. I'm going to absolutely have some, though, just maybe not get that high. Buddy Hield, we talked. Tyler Hero, we talked about. Sexton, we talked about. LeVert, we talked about on DK. I do like him on FanDuel, too. He is 1K more, but at least he's low owned here. Still absolutely considering him at that. And Jalen Green, 6,700. I would rather the Jalen Green aspect than Fred VanVleet. Frankly, without Jabari Smith, Jalen Green gets a much bigger boost than Fred VanVleet. It's also a very similar matchup for him. And what has he done since Jabari has been out? He's been upper 40. So I'm fine going back here. Anthony Simons we covered. We're going over to shooting guard on DraftKings. Thompson, Booker, Hield, LeVert, Rozier. Talked about them all. So small forward on FanDuel. Jaquez, Booker, Amen Thompson, Kyle Anderson, 4K. I talked about no Wiggins and no Kuminga. Most likely, Anderson picks up some minutes because of that. He did last game. He had 27, and it was only Kuminga out. Also, they lost in a blowout, so that could have been part of the extra Tyler Anderson minutes. But I would be shocked if he didn't have at least 22 minutes, and there is upside to playing more. So fine going with some Anderson here. Don't, totally love it, but at least he can play multiple positions and do a lot of different things on the court, which really would help them in a situation where they're missing two, guys that play both small forward and power forward. KD we covered. Our we haven't actually covered KD, but KD is very similar to Booker. He's 1.24 fantasy per minute on the season, but like 1.32 with Beal off the court. So definitely a big boost. And I don't mind going some KD. The one thing I do have to say with KD over Booker, KD, they're the same price pretty much. And KD is a little more consistent, hitting like that 50-ish. So I don't mind going a little more KD over Booker, with Booker being the higher owned one. Lauri Markkanen 7,500. I got to go back to this without John Collins and Clarkson and George. He's just going to have the ball in his hand more, and that ceiling is real when these guys are out. He's just shooting so much more. You get 20 shot attempts from him, and the chance of 40 is very high. Denny, just going back to it again, I got to. Guy has been very good since rejoining the starting lineup. And really, when he's playing over 30 minutes, he's been solid all season long. And 30 minutes is very, very likely in this situation. So, fine going with some Denny. Karis LeVert we covered. Najee Marshall, 5K. 5K is getting expensive for him. But if he's in that starting lineup, I am still a little interested. We only have him at 26.5 minutes. There is a big worry here with Dallas, is that they've really been changing their rotation every single game, so it's really hard to project what their minutes may be. But as long as he is in the starting lineup, I am still going to consider him. If he is out of the starting lineup, then I get worried about what his minutes might be. Regardless, I think he at least gets, 24, 26, but at 5K, we really need him, like 30 plus minutes to give us something real for GPPs here. Now into small forward on DraftKings. Thompson, Markkanen, Strus, 3,800 for Strus. It's playing up to 26 minutes now, and the only worry here is that it's a back-to-back. They're obviously being careful with him coming back. So even though Mitchell's out, I doubt his minutes go up again, but we could see 26 again and a little higher usage without Mitchell. So 3,800 makes some sense. He's hit, pretty much 30 twice in his limited time, and it's both been when he's been able to play at least 26 minutes. So a little interested in Strus. Hawkes we covered. Tim Hardaway Jr., my thoughts. He's Tim Hardaway Jr. He is definitely not his dad. Power forward, FanDuel, Kyle Anderson, Kevin Durant, Evan Mobley. Mobley looks good to me. Definitely interested in Mobley. He is at 1.34 fantasy points per minute on the season. Doesn't get a huge bump without Mitchell there, and it's a good spot. We know he has a huge ceiling. I mean, you're talking about a guy that can hit 60 at 8,300, so you got to consider him, especially in a situation where there's more usage up for grabs there. Lauri Markkanen, Trace Jackson Davis. The guy has been playing very well lately, and minutes should be there. He is center and power forward eligible, so maybe he's able to pick up a couple minutes. He played 35 the other night, which is something I didn't even know was in his wheelhouse. So I like a little bit. We'll see how many minutes he actually gets, but the ceiling's there. Denny, we talked about. Jared Allen, 7,300. Very similar situation to Evan Mobley. Gets a boost without Mitchell, and he's in a very good spot. Centers versus Raptors have just had game after game. 27th overall versus center. So Jared Allen's in a very interesting spot for me. Don't mind going there. Najee we covered. Draymond Green, 6K. Draymond is super interesting to me. I do have to say that he's questionable today. He has some sort of ankle. He did play on it a couple days ago, so I would say most likely he still plays, but we need to look at it. Need to watch the injury report. If he's out, Kyle Anderson almost becomes a lock. But if he's not, without, Wiggins and Kuminga, he goes up to like a 1.1 fantasy per minute guy this year. It is a small sample size, but it's a sample size that, we can kind of go off here. He's a 1 fantasy point per minute guy on the year. He's getting a boost up. That's like a 10% boost, and 10% from a guy that is consistently around 30 is a big deal when your price is $6K. So definitely interested into some Draymond Green here. Getting over to power forward on DraftKings, Anderson, Kevin Durant, Lauri Markkanen, Evan Mobley, talked about them all. And let's move it on to center. Bam Adebayo, 8,200. Look, Bam for years has been a beast whenever Jimmy Butler's out. Butler's obviously out, and he's been in 40s a couple games in a row. We know there's big-time ceiling. It's against the Jazz. I'm fine going here. Don't totally love it, but, 3 games of 45-plus in the last 5. There's no Jimmy Butler. The usage is there. They need to win games. Makes sense going with some Bam. Mobley we covered. Trace Jackson Davis. Jared Allen we covered. Alperen Sengun, 9,300. Big upside. Gets a little bit of a boost without Jabari Smith. Grizzlies tend to stay in games and fight their way and claw into keeping into games. So if this game can go into the wire and he can get some extra minutes, then it starts to look really good. And we know he can hit 60s at 9,300. Fine going there a little bit. And then Draymond we talked about, and on to center at DraftKings. Kevin Durant, Allen, Trace Jackson Davis, we cover it all. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday. We will be back tomorrow with more. Let's win some money tonight. Hope you guys have a good one. Be back soon. Peace.